later, just in case you guys need it. Okay, so a noun standing in place for another noun. So we'll add a little information to that. It's generally going to be referencing a noun previously. Oh, am I gonna have enough room? Let's scooch it over just a little bit. Previously stated in the sentence or text. We'll say sentence, text, or statement. Make that smaller so it's out of my way. There we go. Okay. Okay, so it's going to contain information such as the gender of the previous noun, the number, so plural or singular, and the case, the noun case. Okay. So for pronouns, the ones that we're going to be talking about today, because there are quite a few types of pronouns. The interrogative, demonstrative, what is it? What is the word I'm thinking of? It's like interrogative, but it's not interrogative. Relative. Oh, can't find my words today. Anyway, there are many, many, many different types of pronouns. Intensive pronouns too, but today we're just going to be talking about personal pronouns. Okay, so personal pronouns are first person. So that is first person, that's yourself. I, me, we, us. Second person. That's you, y'all. Okay. Third person. He, she, it, they masculine, they feminine, they neuter. All right, so this is going to look familiar, first, second, third person, because those are categories that we use to inflect the noun, or not noun, sorry, to inflect the verb. First person singular, second person singular, third person singular, first person plural, second person plural, third person plural. So so in English, if you have a sentence like he praises her, those three things are represented as separate parts of the sentence and separate individual words. In Latin, these two, they're going to combine into one word. So you would have, if we use laudo, laudare, because that's the word for praise here, it would be laudat, and then the pronoun here for her would just be eam, and we'll go through that in a second here. But so we don't often have to in Latin. In English, we always state the subject, we always state the pronoun, but Latin does not always state it. Sometimes, so if you don't see it in a sentence, it doesn't mean it's not there. It just means that instead of it being explicitly stated, it is contained within the verb. It's understood or it's implied. It's kind of like how sum esse, so sum est, sumus, estis, sunt. Those are the present active forms of sum esse. Those are not always put in the sentence, aren't always stated in the sentences either. They're implied. If you don't have if you don't have any other verbs in the sentence or in the text, generally you can assume that, oh, a form of sum esse is implied in this sentence. It's just one of those things that are idiomatic of Latin. It's just kind of dropped off there. So yeah, this is kind of like the same thing. It's contained within the verb here, because you know from the ending, oh, I have a third person singular. My pronoun here, he, that's a third person, that's a singular, and it is not explicitly stated, so it's understood to be within the verb there. Does that make sense? Does anyone have any questions about that so far? Okay. So we'll start with first person, I, me, we, us. So first person, just for the pronouns, don't have to worry about gender. When you get into the adjective pronouns like my or our, then we'll have to start thinking about gender that way. But just to state, you know, first person, I, me, we, us, in all the noun cases, we don't have to worry about gender. So that's nice. We just have to worry about case and number. First person, personal pronoun. Okay. So when we decline a pronoun, we're going to need to decline it in all the same cases as any other noun. So we're going to have our nominative, and we're just going to worry about the five usual cases for noun. Nominative, genitive, dative. Goodness, there's something on this sheet that the pens don't like. Accusative and ablative. We'll put our singular here. Might be a little low there. Ooh. And our plural over here. Okay, so our nominative singular, ego. This is I, me. Okay. Our plural is nos. We, us. And if you've taken anything like French before, this is going to kind of, the plural forms are going to look a little bit familiar. They will in the second person personal pronoun too. Okay, and that's because French is a language that is derivative from Latin. So it shares a lot of, Italian, French, Spanish, they'll share a lot of commonalities with Latin. Okay, so we have our nominative, now our genitive. We have tui, or not tui, sorry. I'm thinking ahead to second person here. My apologies. Me. Okay, and that is of me. And then over here in our plural, we have nostri, which is of us or our. There we go. Stay. And then here in the dative, we have mihi. And this is, whoopsies, to or for me. Okay, then stay. Okay, good. And then over here in the plural, we have no beast. to or for us. Now in the accusative, in the singular, we have me or may, and that's just me. And in the plural, we have a repeat of our nominative form, nos, us. In the ablative, we have may or me again, by, with, me. Okay. And then in the ablative plural, nobis. By, with, us. So ablative and accusative, they have the same form. So how do we tell those apart? So what you're going to look for to tell if you have an ablative versus an accusative, you're going to look at, so usually we have to try and distinguish between dative and ablative, and one of the easiest ways to tell if it's a dative form of the word versus an ablative form is to look for prepositions, because ablative uses prepositions. Dative does not use prepositions, only in really specific grammatical constructions, and those are with different types of words, not necessarily with nouns. So if you are trying to suss it out with a regular noun like say like puella, or no, not puella, it would be a masculine noun. So if it was pueri versus pueri, or puero versus puero, you would look for something like you know, like some sort of ablative preposition to tell if it was a dative form of puero or an ablative form of puer. Here, both we have accusative and ablative that look the same, and accusative and ablative both use prepositions. So yes, so just the presence of prepositions is not going to be what distinguishes one from the other. It would be the type of preposition. So ablative and accusative share the preposition in. When you use it with an accusative, it's movement into something. With ablative, it's location within. So if you were saying like, if the word you had was like palace or something, be into the palace versus within the palace. So you would need to look for, hopefully it wouldn't be, you know, one that was used for both of them. It would be something like odd, which is an accusative preposition meaning up to something, or it'd be like ob, which is an ablative preposition, which means away from something, or like ex, out of, circa, which is around, and that's an accusative. So that would be one way. Another way would be to look at the verb and see, is the verb one that is needing to take a direct object? Is me like acting as a direct object there? So then it would be accusative. Or is it a verb that is showing motion towards something? Then you would need an accusative form there. Or is it showing motion away from something, which you could use an ablative there. Okay. All right. So that is, these are the first person personal pronoun forms. Okay, in singular and in plural. Remember, these don't have gender. Now, let's move on to second person. Once we get second person, we can do a couple of examples using first and second person. Okay. So second person, personal pronouns. Ooh, before we get to that, in the first person personal pronouns, you will hardly ever see ego. You might see no sometimes, but hardly ever will you see ego. You'll see me, he quite a bit. You'll see me quite a bit. You'll see me again quite a bit. Me, not so much. Okay, but hardly ever will you see ego. And that's because of what we talked about earlier. The pronoun, the subject often being contained within the verb itself. When you see it, it is very intentional and very specific uses. The author is putting it in there to really make a point about, like, I'm really emphasizing the fact that I am saying this, or I am doing something like that. Me is used, it's just not used as frequently. It just became more idiomatic of Latin to use me, he as an expression of possession, but you will see this in there. Okay, just want to do a little bit of, like, just in case you needed to know, in the text, we're mostly going to see these forms of the first person personal pronoun. Okay, second person personal pronouns. So same thing. We're going to have the five, we're going to look at it in the 5 main noun clauses: nominative, genitive, where's my dative? Dative, accusative, ablative. So second person personal pronouns, also, you don't have to worry about gender here. You just have to worry about singular versus plural. Okay. Nominative singular is 2. And then plural singular nominative is wos. So we have nos for first person, wos for second person. This is young. In the genitive, you have tui, of you, westri. So we had nostri in the first person plural, vestri in the second person plural. Of y'all. In the dative, we have tibi, 2 for you. And in the plural dative, we have wobis, 2 for y'all. In the accusative, we have te, you. In the plural, we have wos, you, or y'all. Again, that is a repeat of the nominative form there. Okay, just making sure that everybody was in here. There wasn't anyone waiting in the waiting area. Good. Okay, sorry. We'll move on. And then in the ablative, just like with first person, your ablative and your accusative form are the same. Same rules apply, or same way to tell them apart applies. So by, there's context of, like, the verb, there's context of things like prepositions. With you. Okay, and then in the plural, it repeats the same form as dative, wobies. I with y'all. Okay. So again, to isn't used, it's used sometimes, it'll certainly be used more frequently than you would see ego. Tui is not used so much. Tibi, te, and te, and then wobis, wos, and wobis, those are going to be the ones that you see the most often. You will see tui and westry occasionally. You won't see wos hardly at all. Okay, so now let's look at a little bit of, make a couple of examples here using the first person and the second person pronouns. So let's say I see you, and then alternatively, you see me. So the subject in this first part would be I, and that second part, it would be you. Okay, so there's your subject, your verb here in both of these would be see, and so we would use video, videre, and then your direct object in both would be you in the first part, me in the second part. So this is your do, this is your do, okay? So if we wanted to make it, just to practice each part of this, I here, nominative singular, would be ego. You here, nominative singular, to. So the verb we would use here would be video, videre. It's a second conjugation. So ego, video, I see, you, that's a second person singular. We want to make it vides. And then our direct object here, you, that was, I just wrote that one out, direct object te. So just for practice, we're writing out this way, me, direct object, ne. So in the text, ego wouldn't need to be stated because it's already contained within the verb here. We know that this is a first person singular. Whoops, too far. That this is a first person singular. So it would just be video te. And same thing for here, tu vides me. You wouldn't need to have to in here because it's already understood inside the verb, but we're using it like this just so we have practice using it. Okay, let's move on to third person because that one actually has gender to worry about. All right, let me check our time real quick. Make sure we're not, okay, we have time. All right, great. So third person. So first person, second person, you don't have to worry about expressing gender, but third person you do. So this is he, she, and it. So masculine, feminine, and neuter. Okay, so we have to worry about singular and plural on masculine, feminine, and neuter. So we're going to put in first, give ourselves space for case, nominative, genitive, oopsie, dative, accusative, ablative. Okay, then we have to go through. So we have our singular on one side and our plural on the other side. We need to have space for masculine, feminine, and neuter in the singular, and then masculine, feminine, neuter in the plural. I need to scooch it over just a little bit. We'll just deal with it singular and then we'll deal with it plural. All right, so in the singular nominative for masculine, is, ea, id. This is he, she, and it. All right, masculine, feminine, neuter. Genitive, all three. I'm going to close my window real quick. Sorry, I have a plane going overhead. What a nuisance. All right. In the genitive, eus, eus, eus. That's kind of nice. All three are the same. Of him, of her, of it. Okay. Might not have enough room to write that on all of them. Okay. In the dative, ei, ei, ei. That's kind of nice too. So then all three have the same form for genitive and for dative. So not much to kind of like, freak out about there. For, and so this would be 2 for him, 2 for her, 2 for it. For accusative, masculine is eum, him, ea, her, and then repeating the nominative form in the neuter, id, it. Okay, and then in the ablative you have ao, so by with him, ea, by with her, and then ao, by with it. Now let's look at the plural. So in the masculine plural nominative, ei. Now it also is sometimes written this double I, e. In the feminine, it's ai, e-a-e, ai. And in the neuter, ea. In the genitive, it's going to be really similar to first, second declension. Aorum, aotum, oops, that's the wrong color. Aorum, aorum, aorum. So a, ai, ea, them masculine, them feminine, them neuter. Of them masculine, of them feminine, of them neuter. In the dative, it's going to be at ease, at ease, at ease. And occasionally you'll see it written IIS, the same, it means the same thing. It's just, sometimes it's written differently depending on when it was written, because spellings and forms of things change over time. That's just how language works. Okay, so that's 2 for him, or 2 for them masculine, 2 for them feminine, 2 for them neuter. And then in the accusative, you have eos in the accusative plural, them masculine, eos, them feminine, and then repeating the nominative form here is a neuter, ea, them neuter. In the ablative, you have the same form as the dative, eis, and the same thing. It will occasionally be written out this way, just depending on when the text was written. Eis, by for, or by with them masculine, eis, by with them feminine, eis, by with them neuter. All right. So if we had something like, let me see, where's my black pen? Here we go. They, feminine, they praise, so laudo, laudare. They praise him. The subject here is they. This is your subject. This is going to be in the nominative. Your verb here is praise. This is your verb. It's because they are the subject, your verb is plural and it's a third person. And then your direct object here is him, and your direct object is singular. Okay, singular and then the accusative. So they, plural, feminine, ai, they, and then praise, laudo, laudare, but this is third person plural, so laudant, they praise. And whom do they praise? They praise him. Okay, so the accusative form, singular accusative, eum. All right. So those are all the forms of the personal pronoun. So with third person, there's not the usage disconnect. By that I mean it's not like with first and second person where you will hardly ever see nominative and genitive forms. You'll see pretty much there you're going to see a lot of accusative, and you'll see a lot of these three here, dative, accusative, and ablative, but it's not like you won't see any of nominative or genitive. They are actually like quite prevalent in text. So you will come across those forms. Probably not as much as dative, accusative, or ablative, but it's not like with first person and second person where it's like rarely you'll see them. Okay. So before we wrap up, does anyone have any questions about the forms of first, second, third person personal pronouns? That's fine. That's great. We will start translation practice with them starting on Monday. There's no homework over the weekend, so you guys can just relax. You can, take a brain break from Latin over the weekend. Like I said, if you haven't turned any in the Hidden Histories of Rome assignment, please do. Or if you have any others that you haven't emailed to me, please do that. I will double check my spreadsheet here in a minute and see if anybody's missing anything, and I will email you to get those in. Okay. Well, I'm all done with you for today. Have a wonderful rest of your Friday and have a wonderful weekend. Try and go outside. It's going to be really, really nice. And we will get back to doing some Latin and doing translating on Monday. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a great day. Have a great weekend, guys.